Hello, hello, magical souls, and welcome to another podcast. I'm Catherine Tagg, author, artist, and Akashic Record Keepers keeping guide. So today we are going to be talking about soul contracts and how to end the soul contracts, because I decided to talk about this subject because, sorry, it is coming up. There's a lot of confusion about this subject, and many people are misunderstanding what is the deal with the soul contracts. Okay, so I'm sure you've heard the phrase like, "Oh, this must be a soul contract, and I guess I have to stay here, stay in this because my soul has agreed to it." And there's a very interesting truth actually about soul contracts, and that is that um, the soul contract can end the moment that you choose differently. So this is this is really what comes up in the records all the time. It is true because the purpose of a soul contract is for expansion, for evolution, for growth. Okay. The soul contract is not for suffering. You are not meant to suffer in this lifetime. You are meant to learn from the lessons, grow, adapt, move, change, expand, whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it. So it can be that the soul contract came forward for you to help you learn a lesson, but at the same time, you don't have to be stuck there. Okay. And I think the way to understand this is that before we incarnate, our soul chooses experiences that are going to help us grow. And sometimes that includes relationships. Hands up who's had difficult relationships. Sometimes it includes challenges. We've all had those. And sometimes it includes lessons around boundaries. Or you could have self worth lessons that you need to learn. But it's always important to understand that the contract is about the lesson, not the duration of how long you're meant to be there. Okay, so once you've learned the lesson, you can move on. The you know, it's not how long the experience is, it's about where you want to move to. Okay, so let's think about this. So I wanted to give an example. For example, my ex-husband, I chose to leave him when the contract was up, when the lesson was learned. Sorry, not when the contract was up. The contract was up quite a long time before I left him. But obviously I had left him, I had felt a lot of fear around leaving him. So I waited longer than I needed to. And that was also another lesson in self worth because he would definitely convince me that I was definitely less than what I am. So that was his job. That was his job. And he did it so well, I have to say. Congratulations to him. Okay, so what else can we talk about in terms of the lessons? Um, Okay, so spiritual growth is not about endurance, it's about awareness. So let's go back to my example of my ex-husband. Once I became aware that he was never going to change and I couldn't help him and I needed to stand on my own again, I made that decision to move. But it can be very scary to do that because all of a sudden you're having to go back into the world again. You, it can feel like a big effort to move from a very uncomfortable marriage to be free. To be free again can feel very scary, even though it's the right thing to do. But I would say sometimes our lesson is simply choosing ourselves, learning to walk away, learning to set a boundary. And the boundaries are actually very interesting as well because these come up a lot for us. If we're star seeds, if we're more sensitive people, those are gifts, but the people in the world can actually take us for granted and they can put a lot of pressure on us and we can feel like we should do everything that they're saying that we should do. We tend to hand over our power to other people. Now, if you're a star seed, you come from places like Pleiades, Orion, Sirius, and in those places, you can trust the leaders there. So that's kind of like a habit that we have. We trust the leader because the leader there always has our best interest at heart. So when we are here in a physical form, we need to understand that we chose a physical form so that we would have control and that we would have our best interest at heart and we have to take charge. So a lot of people feel like they're waiting for someone to come and save them. But the reality is that's not going to happen in this physical world. That's not what this physical world is about. In this physical world, we have to take charge. We have to step back into our power and take control and move forward that way. And it doesn't have to be, um, outrageous things. It doesn't have to be anything like that. You can just calmly, gently step back into your own power, take control of your life, and decide this is how it's going to be from now on. So I quite like the idea of when we're in a work environment and we have work colleagues, we have bosses, we have clients, we have all these sorts of things going on. We need to take back control by maybe putting everything in writing instead of having everything agreed to verbally. We need to put up boundaries by putting things in writing. Maybe you want to put that on the date. This is the was the instruction, this is what was agreed, and then going forward, you have set some boundaries because you can then go back to the written word and say, this is what we agreed, and this is how I have delivered. Now the person is changing, moving the goalposts, for example, and then you can say, well, that's not what was agreed, but based on your new instructions, this is how I see it unfolding. This is the new timeline that I'm going to be working to, and things like that. So once you actually stop saying yes to everything and start putting everything in writing and saying, right, this is how we're going to do this, people might at first feel very uncomfortable about the new you, about this change that you're making because they're so used to bending you around their little finger. But at the same time, you are then able to make the change that you need to for that job role. So you are then able to set up boundaries, and you will find that you will probably quite like your job after you've set up some boundaries, and you might not need to leave. So sometimes we need to stay in a job and fix the boundaries, fix the situation, and sometimes we need to walk away. But knowing the difference is also quite key. So normally I open the Akashic records for my clients to help them understand where they are, what they need to do next, and let their guides help them decide. Okay, so we've talked about that. So one of the things that a soul contract can also do is help us to learn to stop abandoning our own truth. So let me say that again. Sometimes the soul contract is for us to stop abandoning our own truth. So I'm going to talk about my parents in this instance. For example, I was born into a very traditional family, Catholic father, those sorts of things. Chauvinist, is chauvinistic, and also very stuck, very set in his ways. And the fact that I'm a spiritual person is very, very uncomfortable for my family. So my father can't deal with that. That's not acceptable for him. That's my way of embarrassing him even further. So firstly, I was born in a female body, which was a horrendous experience for him to have a girl child. And then she goes on to be spiritual. So that's not okay for him. So he knows very little about what I do, which is fine. I've made peace with that. And I have also done a lot of healing on that relationship. But coming back to the story, and the point of the story is so my family didn't want me to step into my truth and be who I am. And that I understand because it happens to many, many star seeds. We specifically choose to be born into families that are very different from where we've come from, so that we can learn about humanity and learn about how they view the world, how humans view the world, and that it's okay that they view the world differently to the way we view the world. That's okay. It's all about the journey. It's all about where we're going to. So when I decided to own my truth, step into my power, and choose to do the type of work that I know I'm born to do, then my life changed so much for the better. So I'm living my best life now, which is very exciting and very lovely. And that was a very uncomfortable transition to make, to know that if my father found out about the type of work I do, that would cause a lot of trouble in the world. But in the meantime, we can, like I say, a lot of us think that there's somebody coming to save us, and they just are not. We have to save ourselves. We have to be the ones that take that step and say, I'm no longer going to follow the dream of being an accountant that my father has for me. I'm not going to be an accountant, sorry. It's just not going to happen. I'm not designed to be one. I have no head for figures, and it's not going to work, sorry. And I just moved on. So, and I think that's quite comes back to my point that I'm going to make next, which is that um, contracts are not prison sentences. Okay, let me say that again. Contracts are not prison sentences, they are opportunities. So once the consciousness shifts, the contract has served its purpose. But this is where people hesitate, like I did with my own family, because choosing differently can feel very scary. You may worry, what if I'm meant to stay in this contract? What if I'm abandoning my purpose? And what if I'm getting it wrong? Okay, so those are good things. But for example, if I had followed my father's dream for me to be an accountant, I would be very miserable. And not only that, I would be riddled with diseases because it would crush my spirit. And then I would invite all sorts of diseases to me because I would feel completely out of alignment with who I'm supposed to be. So this is the problem. This is why there's so much cancer and illness and things in the world, because we are not aligning with our true purpose. When we choose to align, then everything starts to become very, very magical. So if you're really, really, really worried about if you're getting it wrong or what you're supposed to be doing, then please do book an Akashic Record reading with me, and I'd be delighted to go through with your personal guides and hear what your personal guides want to say to you about the subject. During an Akashic Record reading, I often don't remember what I've said consciously because your guides will work through me. I will just be like a telephone receiver helping you, and they will tell you exactly what you need to do and exactly where you need to be. But this podcast today and the guided meditation is to help you if you kind of believe that you're ready to move, and you just want that little bit of help and guidance to get there. Okay. So I said earlier, our fear can come up and we can say, what if I'm doing this wrong? What if I'm getting it wrong? But I want to ask you, what if instead you look at it from this perspective and say, what if your soul has been waiting for you to choose yourself finally? What if that's the way? What if that's the truth of the situation? Because growth rarely happens when we stay comfortable, when we're in that comfort zone. Instead, it happens when we honor that quiet voice inside that says, this version of my life is no longer aligned with where it needs to be. Okay. And when we listen to that voice, something very beautiful happens. New timelines open. Okay. New relationships appear, and new opportunities unfold because the universe responds to our level of consciousness. The universe meets us where we are. Okay. But it's very easy to just say this, but it's a little bit more difficult to take steps. So I've been downloaded a beautiful guided meditation that's going to help us to get from where we are to where we want to be. So if you can, please find a very comfortable and peaceful space where we can start our meditation journey together. So just relax now, take a few deep breaths. Wonderful. Let's count in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And in this moment, we're going to take the opportunity to intend through this meditation that we are going to let go of outdated contracts and open our energies to choosing differently. We are going to use this guided meditation to help us choose differently. So let's just breathe in again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just allow your body to soften now. Let your shoulders drop. Let your body feel the earth beneath you, supporting you. And let's bring your awareness now to your beautiful heart center. And in this moment, we are going to ask all the guides that you like to work with to come forward now. You might like to work with the archangels, Saint Germain, the Goddess of Liberty, Kuan Yin, any ascended masters. Let's bring them forward now into this moment to assist us with this very beautiful meditation. And when we are in the heart center, back in the heart center, imagine a soft golden light glowing, and notice that it is warm, calm, and steady. And this light represents your soul's wisdom. So quietly ask yourself, where in my life am I staying out of habit? Where in my life am I staying out of habit rather than staying in alignment? So don't force the answer. So you're asking if you're staying there because you're comfortable, or because it's easy, it's easier than moving. Where in your life is that? What part of your life is going through that? So again, we don't force the answer, just notice what arises. It may be a relationship, a belief, a pattern, or maybe a situation that feels very heavy. It's a great way to know if you're out of alignment. Things feel very heavy when we're out of alignment. So simply just observe this heaviness for now and observe this situation, this relationship, this belief, this pattern, whatever this is. Imagine placing the situation in front of you and imagine that you are holding it in your hands. Notice its weight and how heavy it is in your hands. Okay. Now repeat after me. I honor the lesson that this experience has given me. So I'll say that again. I honor the lesson that this experience has given me. I release any contract that no longer serves my highest growth. I release any contract that no longer serves my highest growth. Just take a nice deep breath in. Imagine the golden light from your heart expanding outwards, surrounding the situation in your hands. And as this light grows stronger, notice that the old energy begins to dissolve, not from a place of conflict, but from a place of completion, because the lesson has been acknowledged. Now ask your higher self, what does choosing differently look like for me? What does choosing differently look like for me? And just notice the first feelings or the images or words that appear. You might find that it's courage. You might find that you need rest. You might need to be speaking your truth. It might be walking a new path. But you can trust the first gentle message and bring your awareness back to your heart center now and repeat quietly, I am free to evolve. I am free to evolve. I am free to choose again. I am free to choose again. My soul honors growth, not suffering. My soul honors growth, not suffering. And on the next breath in, remember this moment in the coming days, weeks, and months. We're setting an intention that you remember that your soul never intended for you to stay stuck. It intended for you to awaken. And sometimes awakening looks like compassion. Sometimes it looks like forgiveness. Sometimes it looks like choosing differently. And you can trust that when you honor your growth, the universe will meet you there. Okay, the universe will meet you there. You are supported in all things, in everything that you choose. You are always supported. If you choose to live a very difficult life, you will be supported in that. If you choose happiness and positivity, you will be supported in that. You choose what you want, and the universe supports you. So let's take a moment now to thank all the beings of light that assisted us today with this meditation, with understanding where it is that we're going, what it is we're going to be doing with our lives, and how to be brave to take the next step, how to be brave to understand our self-worth and live our truth, and to move into our truth, living the life that we are meant to live. Even if it doesn't agree with the outside world, that's their problem, not your problem. You need to focus on you. They can do them, you do you. So we ask the archangels now to bring forward their loving energy and to help us in the coming days, weeks, months with finding our truth and staying in our truth and choosing differently so that we can have better outcomes, so that we can have a better life, and so that we can live our best life. So on the next breath in, just start to bring your awareness back to the core. And I hope you have experienced some shifts, some truths, and some help and some assistance. I hope you found that help and assistance that you need to move forward on your wonderful, magical spiritual journey. Take care, everyone, and stay magical.